Hey, welcome back, brothers and sisters, to part 2 of the Ripple Effect. If you haven't saw part 1, I urge you to do so. In this video, we'll be building off of part 1 briefly, and then we're going to go into overdrive and go deeper into this rabbit hole. Now, part 1 laid the groundwork for the next series of videos I'm going to be doing. And with that being said, I'm just letting you know right now, in this part, we're going to crank it up a notch because we pretty much got the basics out the way with part 1. And I'm going to be all over the place with this one. I shouldn't lose you, though. If you watch part 1, you should follow along just fine. So let's hop right into it. This darkness is the prime element, the primordial element that gave birth to the 4. They told us this in a very popular series of movies called Star Wars. Luke Skywalker is supposed to be the good guy, and Luke Skywalker represents the light, but he was birthed from Darth Vader. Darth Vader is one of those bad guys who represent this darkness, this Saturn energy. Batman is another one. Whenever we see the cape and the veil, we're dealing with the bride, who is the bridge. Remember that the woman wears the cape and the veil during marriage. So we're dealing with this divine feminine energy that's been hidden for the past 7,000 years. I'm just giving you back these ancient matriarchal concepts. So this darkness is directly tied to the womb. And it's very important to understand when we deal with the deities that wear the veil and the tail. You can see this in a Vedic deity called Ketu, and as well as many mother goddesses around the earth. And again, this is why the women wear the veil and the long dress during marriage. Check out my videos on the eclipse and Rahu and Ketu, and you can learn more about this. Just want you guys to have an understanding of the different types of deities that were associated or used to represent Mount Meru, Rupes Nigra, the Reaper. We went over some in the previous videos, and I'm just going over a few more here. So when you talk about Batman, he's another one with the veil and the tail representing Ketu or Rupes Nigra. We know that the earliest deity to represent this was the great womb, the great mother, and we have to get back to that. So we go through these to see the history of the deception and show you how we went from her story to his story. So like I said, another deity to represent this was Darth Vader. And you can see so many more. Even when you think about the video game Mortal Kombat, Sub-Zero and Scorpion would be your polarities, and Reptile would be Rupes Nigra. So Sub-Zero, Scorpion would be Sun and Moon, and the one that eclipses them both would be Reptile, or that's the serpent on a tree. So just to get familiar with this deity that lies in between the polarities, that would be the Holy Ghost in the Christian church, the one in between the Father and the Son. It's always this middle deity, and you can see that same concept here in Kemet with your Trinity here with Horus in the middle. Remember that the sum of things is in the middle when we're dealing with these ancient sciences. Mean we're adding from each side to meet ourselves in the center. And later in the series, we'll be hopping on the board to show y'all why this is important when we deal with sacred geometry and our mirrored reality. So this dark deity that wears the veil and the tail, as you can see the Reaper wears this as well, became Satan, became something to fear, became something cursed today. And we know that everything that they want us scared of is really things that can help us. So the word scared and sacred are the same, because things that were really once sacred to us prior to this new world order are the things that we are scared of today. Notice that a lot of people are scared of snakes. A lot of people are scared of the dark. A lot of people have a phobia of reptile animals. And when you think about it, we're the direct opposite of the ancients who revered all of the things that they put in our scary movies today. So when we talk about archons, and we use this word so much in the conscious community, We talk about how these people manipulate the subconscious and control your reality. Well, they do it the most by making you afraid of things that really are your cure. What I have here is a very short list of words that relate to each other in different ways, in which I'm going to point out now. And it's just to show us how these different words relate so that we can be familiar with it as we move on. So the word sacred is related to the word cure. If you look at the medical symbol, you will see that the medical symbol is a sacred symbol, and we go to the medical center to be cured. We know that a lot of ancients revered certain herbs and different things of that nature because they were able to cure the body of certain things. So we see how the word sacred and the word cure are related. Now, below the word sacred is the word scared, because a lot of the things that the ancients saw as sacred, today they made us scared of. For example, the darkness, one of the most sacred things in the ancient world. We come into this world and they teach us to be afraid of the dark. They give us boogeyman and all of this stuff. And often the boogeyman that they give us have on costumes, or they are characters that resemble sacred geometrical patterns and deities. So what they give you to frighten you and to be scared of is the things that spiritually connects us with the Most High. You have to be brave and not be afraid to be curious, which is a word on our board because it has the C-U-R root. And we want to pay attention to the C-U-R root because curious is another form of being inquisitive or questioning this place. And it's only through the questions that we receive the answers. So without the question, there is no answer. This is why they don't want you questioning. They bombard you with answers so that no one questions. It's not about the answers, it's about the questions. So we see in a lot of comics that the Riddler is a bad guy, when really the Riddler is the Rippler. It's the one with the questions that leads us on this quest back to Rupes Nigra. So the Riddler, think of your R.I. root and ripple. Think of what they told you in the Garden of Eden, that Eve was made from Adam's rib, and that's your R.I. root. Again, I'll be getting into that story, showing you how they reverse the ripple effect in mythology, because right now they got us under a backwards patriarchal form of this science, which isolates us from the source and ourselves. But real quick, that R.I. root in the word rib, because your ribs are ripples. I'm not the best artist, but that's supposed to be like a rib cage. We understand that our rib cage is shaped like a pineal gland. It's shaped like a pine cone, shaped like a mound, and it has ripples. It shapes like a beehive. We're dealing with the SA root and we're dealing with the CUR root. Questioning is important to connect with the source. Questioning is the cure. Being curious is the cure. This is why they give you things like Curious George. They tell you that curiosity killed the cat. Curiosity didn't kill the cat. Curiosity awakened the sleeping giant. And that's what's happening right now. Our curiosity is acting as our cure right now. You can see how the word scared is the word sacred. Things that were sacred, they made us scared of. Things that were once our cure, they cursed them. So for example, things that are curvy, Okay, cure, curse, curvy. What's the one thing that's curvy that they cursed? Well, the Nagini. They turned that into the book of Genesis. And they took us away from the science of the sine wave. They took us away from this. This shows us about vibration. This is the ripple effect. Here are your ripples. So the curve is the feminine because what? This is nut. Each of these is nut. Remember we talked about this diamond cosmos and how a paradise is a pair of bowls. A underworld and a firmament. Remember that the word firmament has the FI root in 5 and first because the 5 points came first. This is the wave of life that we're all riding. This curve was cursed. Remember, when we write our name in cursive, if you think about your signature is written in cursive. Why is it called cursive? Because this style of writing is cursed today and is used against you. Your signature is your sigil nature. I will be doing future videos on sigil making and showing you the power of making your own symbols and how sigils are being used against you by corporations. Everyone was born with their own natural sigil that nature gave them, and that's called your signature, your sign nature, your sigil nature. And no two people have the same signature. This is your energy in symbol form. It represents your vibration, your frequency, and can't no one alive on this infinite plane do it like you. So when you put your signature on things, you're putting your spiritual sigil upon that. You're signing authority away. Now the root word of authority is author. We're the author of our own books of life, of our own reality. But when you sign it over, you're now a slave. So you notice that they get us to sign our lives away in this reality and put our signature on things that don't benefit us. And again, the word benefit has the same root as binary. Ben is 10, fit is 5. This signature is important because it's your cursive style, and you got to ask yourself, why does this have to be cursed? I just told you because they're using it against us today. This style of writing derived from the flower of life. And now today it's cursed just like everything else that was once used for good. So yes, our cursive writing is our signature. When we write in the form of the sine wave and you let your hands move and flow freely like water. When you look at martial arts, and what Bruce Lee was teaching about being like water, you can see how their hands move like waves, and it's about being fluent. So if you look at a lot of the good martial art movies, you will see that in the training, the sensei had the student doing a lot of things in nature that we do naturally. So the sensei may have his student trying to use his hands to catch a fish. Well, if you can catch a fish, you can block a punch. We can also find our CUR root in the word secure or security, and we understand that's dealing with protection. That's dealing with a covering, something that's over you called protection. If you got a bodyguard, he don't got an iron covering over you, but he's walking next to you and he's saying, hey, I got your back, I got you covered. under my protection. If I see something, I'm going to get in the way of it and cover you. He's your covering. When we hear security, secure, we know that that's a covering, that's protection. Just like the security for an egg is the shell. And again, when we say shell, we're saying Sheol. Because that darkness is a security for all of us. It's a protection. It's called darkness because it's a dark net. It catches us when we go in and out of existence. And if it didn't exist, you would cease to exist. There would be no portal to rebirth your soul in and out of existence. So this darkness is important. It's a dark net, and a net will break your fall so that you don't hurt yourself. So when you exhale your last breath, the darkness is there to make sure you can recreate new lungs to breathe again. You recreate yourself in that darkness. So it's a renewing portal from which all things come. And it's our security because it acts as our curtain. And again, another CUR root. The curtain of our cosmos would be Nut. So Sheol would be Nut's shadow. And this was called Hades by some. The word Hades is the word shade. If you take the S off of the end of Hades and move it to the front, you get shade. Remember, we're in a mirrored cosmos. And the other half of this place is simply a place we go to reset to bounce us back here. So think of ping pong. The root word of ping is pi. The root word of pong is po, the same one dealing with potency and potential. The ping is the pi because it's what bounces us in and out of existence, give us that spring energy so that we are able to pong or bounce back when we land upon that sea of darkness, that potential, that pong that we ping from. You are a signal, a vibration. And when the womb receives that signal, that seed, there's a ripple effect where you will yourself into existence. This is the spiral of life. Everything comes into existence shaping like a zero or in a fetal position, in a spiral position. Even most of your animals ball up when it's time to go back into that womb. We assume the zero shape. This is a very natural position in nature to access that darkness. You notice that most people, when they trying to go to sleep, they go into what we call the spooning position. And if you think about the spooning position, it's kind of shaping your body like the number 5 or the symbol of Saturn. So the next word we're going to look at on our list is cursor. And we understand that a cursor is a pointing device. And a point is the same thing that Mount Meru is. Mount Meru is a point that guides us, right? Mount Meru is a point that gives us a sense of direction based on north, which is the source. This is that vertical pole that's represented by the feminine. If you look at the previous video, you can see the importance of this vertical pole and how it played a key role in the creation of the cosmos. Our cosmos is a crossroads. A vertical pole intersected by a horizontal child called Geb. And this is what happens in the uterus. There's a crossroads that intersects a child, and new life enters this crossroad, this great intersection that's been in use for the beginning of time, souls coming in and out of existence via this intersection. Again, the word cursor is dealing with something that's a guide, a pointer. We understand how that is related to Polaris, but we have our CUR root because we understand that that was cursed. All of the knowledge of Polaris was cursed. Remember, Polaris also have your PO root dealing with potency, potential, pole, of course, point. So the next word is accurate, and we see our CUR root there. And we know that when you're accurate, you're on point. You're on Meru. You're intuitive. You're seeing from the peak or the pinnacle, which is the cure, which is the cursor, to guide you in this life so that you can stay accurate. So remember, never hesitate to go behind a curtain of your eyelids for guidance from the core of yourself, because the Most High sent you here with your own solution inside of you. Remember that the root word of solution is soul, because your solution is in you, not nobody else. I can't give you your solution. I can only guide you to the right way. So last but not least, we have the word curl, which is just another synonym of curve. So I don't have to go into curl. We know that it's the sine wave or the serpent. And these here is pretty much self-explanatory when we deal with the SA root and Satan, Santa, Saturn, sanctuary, sanity, satellite, sage, which is something I burn all the time, is very therapeutic. But that stuff is cursed. If you burn sage around Christians, they'll say you're practicing witchcraft. I've already experienced that, when really it's the most therapeutic stuff. If a Christian would burn sage, they would really see how to relieve some real stress through nature. And this is not nothing that's ruling you with fear. So sage is something that, I recommend. So what are some more SA words we see? From sacred, Satan, sacrifice, safe, which is secure. So secure. Your dark net is your safety net. Darkness is a safety net. So darkness is dark net. Net is nut. She's your security. She's your safety. She's the one that began the saga. Remember, being curious is the cure. We all should be riddlers. Riddle me this, riddle me that. Remember, that's a rhythm. Riddle me this, riddle me that is a rhythm. A riddle is a rhythm. Curiosity didn't kill the cat. It awoke the sleeping giant. The questions will begin our quest, and again, our saga. Earlier, we talked about how martial arts and the movement of the wave, what Bruce Lee was teaching us. And I think it's something interesting when we think about martial art teachers are called senseis. And the root word of it is sin, dealing with sine wave. Sin because we ascend to the Most High when we descend to Sheol. And then we transcend them both when we come back into existence. We transcend things all of the time. Transcend means to transition something out of sin, means to transmit something out of the darkness of your mind. If I sit here and create something original and present it to the world, I transcended something. I transcended it. I transitioned it from the darkness to the light. And then I go and present it to the world. All right. So we can't escape this sin root. When a baby is in the womb of a belly, he's being sent or being mailed. We went over that in the part 1 as well. You know, we have to give our consent for a lot of things that rule over us. So the word sin is very important. Remember that density has the word psi in it. When you talk about density, it's because density is nothing but the consciousness of the Most High assigning the Elohim their positions in the cosmos. 2 words we see in the word position is po and psi. Po dealing with potential, dealing with that sea of potency. Psi dealing with 5 or the Most High. When things are assigned something. And all things in this reality are on an assignment by the Most High. And that assignment is your quest or your Sa, God. And your teachers in this life will play a role on whether or not you achieve the mission. Because they are your teachers. They are your seniors. Your seniors. Because the way they send you out into society determines how far you make it when you get there. So in the previous video, we talked about reaping what you sow and the word reap and reaper. Some more words we can add to the collection when we say reap what you sow. That would be another way of saying repercussions. So now we understand why we call it repercussions. We understand why we say stuff like reparations or reparations, because again, reaper is to repair as well, to repay. So anything that's dealing with REP is going to have some kind of relation to this darkness concept. For example, like I told you earlier in the previous video, I also pointed out how we can find the word rip in words like trip and drip. And I mentioned the words rip because rep is another word that is synonymous with rip or drip or trip. A drip is on a trip. It's a small portion of water that's separated from the whole. We went over that. But to show you how this relate to the word rep, because we're dealing with reaper and ripper, when we say representative, that would be a driplet of the company. So that's not the whole company. That's just one facet of the company, not even 1% when we talk a representative. So that's just a drip of the ocean. And I'm just showing us this again so we can deal more deeply with the word etymology as promised. And I want to go deeper with this etymology, but I'm just crawling before we walk. So another word we can look at with the word rip is grip. We say things like get a grip, have sound thoughts, be balanced, namaste. This would all be equivalent to getting a grip. We say be level-headed. Remember that you can find the name Eve in the word level. Remember that the word level ends in EL, dealing with El, one of the gods that I went over previously that represents balance. Now, the reason I go through the trouble of teaching y'all etymology and word relations, because we understand etymology is atomology. Words are atomic. All that exists is sound, vibration. So when we take the time to decipher the words and language we use to describe our reality, then we can understand our reality better. That is important. So let's move on. So previously, we also talked about RIP, when we rest in peace, when we rip. And I just told you that we see the word rip in the word grip. When we rip, we grip, or we attach ourselves to this primordial sea. We go into this darkness like a human that comes up from the surface of the water, gasping for air. We go into this darkness to catch our breath again. So we go here to get a grip, literally, because when we rip, meaning when we leave the body, we're ripping through time and space, because when we talk reincarnation, the body goes into the ground and the source of you goes into your next avatar on a new assignment, all taking place on this infinite plane. And the womb is the gateway, the portal. So when we rip, we grip onto the womb of our next mother. This is why the tombstone is shaped like the pregnant belly. And when they put the cracks on a tombstone, it's just really the stretch marks on your mother belly where you're ripping into existence, stretching her body, forming it into a little home. Very magical stuff. Women, you are the portal, you are the gateway. This is why it's important what pregnant mothers do with their body, and also the overall health of the female species, which is something they want to attack in all ways, especially when we deal with the mythology and etc. The womb is the tomb, as we stated earlier. So when you rip through the fabric of space and time, you're leaving your body, going inside of another body, which is a doorway or a gateway. This can only be done through the female. Her body was designed to be the gateway in and out of existence. When we understand that this darkness we speak of is the prime element, and it's also more than just a thing, it's a place. It's a person, place, and thing. It's an intelligence, a divine intelligence that's all around you. You can't escape it. Nowhere you can go on this earth to escape it. So it's a portal, and it's a substance, the substance that gave birth to all other elements. Now let's crank it up a notch and talk about this creation process. In the previous video, we spoke about how there were no items or materials in the beginning for the Most High to pick up to make the so-called physical reality around us. In all of these religious stories, it tells us that the four elements were created before time itself. You got to think about that. The four elements were created before time existed. The creation of time is synonymous with the creation of the sun. And we do understand that the four elements were actually created before the sun, because the Most High had to have something to even create the sun and the moon with. So if the Most High didn't first create the elements, then there would be no other creation. So these four elements were the two arms and two legs of the Most High, the extensions of the Most High, that the Most High used these four elements to manipulate this reality. It has always done it through the four elements and always will. Look at the world around you. You see the Most High constantly at work, but you also see evil men trying to hijack this place and war against the Most High, manipulating the weather and all of this crap. So if the Most High's extensions is the four elements, and you have men who is out to manipulate those elements, look at it this way. Those four elements on the Dogon womb of all worlds being the extension of the Most High, look at it as the steering wheel of the earth. And if they're trying to manipulate those, they're trying to control the earth and hijack the car. In other words, remove the Most High from the driving seat by controlling the very four foundational elements that our reality is based upon. And in a sense, handcuffing the Most High, basically hijacking the pilot's plane, so to speak. But the Most High is in control, And one thing I want to point out is when we talk about the creation of these four elements, these were the four building blocks, meaning these were the literal extensions of the Most High, just like you got 2 hands and 2 feet. So because of that, you cannot go and just build some fire. You can't go in your backyard and create water or create wind. I mean, you're made out of these elements. You create things with these elements, but you just can't go out there and, create a rock. You can't. You can pick up a rock and build a house with it, but you just can't go out there and create fire. And it's because these are the hands and feet or extensions of the Most High. So as above, so below, they will become the extensions of us, meaning in a way, the 4 elements are extensions of our extensions. I mean, think about it. You use your hands, but you can't use them without the air that you're breathing or the fire that's in your nervous system or the water, 70+% water that you're made out of. And if those 4 elements within you aren't balanced right, you won't even be able to use your other extensions, your feet, your mind, which is an extension, your hands. If your health isn't right, meaning the elements, your balance within your own body. Now, this is deep stuff because when the Creator willed itself into existence and created a body for itself, its body was the 4 elements. Those were the extensions that the Most High created so that the Most High could manipulate this reality via the water, wind, earth, fire. And again, everything in this reality is made of these elements. Now, this is important because these 4 elements gave birth to all of the many other diverse elements we see, such as gold, diamond. All of this come from earth. When we think about light, that's a form of fire. So these 4 elements had children themselves. Wind. Think of all of the gases that live in the wind family. And by the way, when we talk about the 4 elements, I want you to think about them as children of the Most High. And think about it, parents. When you have children, don't your children go and have children? So this is how an ecosystem was created, the same way a family is created. A family is an ecosystem. It starts with 2 people that gives birth to children. Those children give birth to children. Those children give birth to children, and so on, like an echo. As above, so below. When we talk about the creation of the cosmos, we can look at it the same way. The Creator gave birth to the 4 elements, and those 4 elements gave birth to so many children, including us. So understand that these 4 elements do have a consciousness and intelligence of themselves and about their mission, their purpose, and their duty. These 4 elements obey laws. Think about that. Water knows at what temperature to freeze. So these elements are not just there, they are intelligent. Water knows how to behave and to stay level. So there's consciousness in all things. And that consciousness is an extension of the source, extending all the way to us and all of the life on earth. Again, an ecosystem of the Most High. So we were directly fashioned by the hands of the Most High, meaning those elements. And when you trace our bloodline back, you got to understand the fact that blood itself is created by these elements. So when we go to find out our origins, it's deeper than tracing blood. It's tracing you back to the source. Again, these elements was created before time. Now, why is this important? Because if the Creator created this reality of ours, starting with the 4 elements as building blocks and starting before time was created, because again, time didn't come along until the sun and moon was created. So what was going on when the Creator was creating the foundational elements for our reality? These were created before time. This means when the Creator was doing this, it was happening instantly. The moment the Creator thought it, it appeared. And this is the same thing happened when we dream. The moment we close our eyes, somehow we seem to open them in the middle of a dream, in the middle of a situation, and everything is created, everything is there, and we're doing this. So if the creator's extensions is earth, wind, water, and fire, think of how you recreate your extensions in a dream. When you open your eyes in a dream, you have your hands, your leg. You, like I said, you recreated even your lungs and your organs. If we're in the mind of the Most High, if we're the thought of the Most High, if the creator is creating this realm or this dream, compare it to what we do when we dream. We recreate our extensions just like the creator have created these extensions called earth, water, wind, and fire. And when it happens instantly in a dream, it happens that way in creation. So it's like the creator fell asleep and we was the dream instantly. When it happened, the Big Bang was the moment you begin to dream in your sleep when you reach REM sleep. And so when that happened in the mind of the Most High, this infinite plane appeared instantly. Things were happening instantly. So when the creator was thinking about how to manifest this reality, the first thing it thought into existence was its extensions or its tools. Now with those, it would begin to create all other life, including ourselves. But the first thought was those neutral four elements that govern our reality. And after those children, the Most High built thoughts upon those four foundational thoughts. And everything in its reality built with those elements that the creator first manipulated to create this reality, that the creator still uses to govern this reality. So at this time, what I'm going to do is give my belief on what I think the order of these elements were. Now, I think that the first element that was created was wind. And I believe this is why all of the gases are pretty much the ruling governors of all the elements. If you think of water, fire, and earth, the gases rule over all of these. And this is because before any of the other three elements, it was the breath, the voice of the Most High, the gases that began it all. And when you think of heliocentrism, they tell you that as well. They tell you that physical so-called planets and all of that was born out of bodies of gas, nebulas and gas galaxies. And over time, these gases compress and different concoctions that form into physical things, chemical reactions. Something else I wanted to point out, that gases occupy the highest place in the cosmos, and we know they ascend to the highest places. We also see that the final phase of all of these elements is the gas phase. So water ultimately can turn into gas, and after that, it can't do nothing but become water again. So water will go from solid, liquid to gas, and then it'll repeat. Gas being ghost, the last one, the one that starts with the G, which is the spiral. Now, this trinity, again, we pointed out in a previous video: small, medium, large, solid, liquid, gas, childhood, adulthood, seniority. So gas would be equivalent to seniority. Gas is what allow a thing to ascend. So that word again, seniority, ascension, it would be that mother element. And when you think about it, all of the elements go to the gaseous state as a kind of renewal. You can take water that's polluted, you can boil it and condense it and filter out all of the pollutants just by turning it into gas and then back to water again. But I just pointed that out to get you guys to think about these things, because again, all of this was taking place before time. So everything was happening instantly. So when the Most High was having the ideas of these elements, they was just popping into existence instantly. And God was saying that it was so, or that it was right. When we think about living upon an infinite plane, and this plane was created before time existed, because the last thing that was created was the time and the life upon it. There was nothing to observe time during the creation of the foundation of the cosmos, which is the elements. The creator had to create itself first. then create the foundation of this place before there was even any life placed upon it. So the sun and moon would be sentient beings just like all of us. Everything in this reality is a sentient being, even a rock. So when I use the word sentient being, I pretty much just mean things that are basically governed under time. Now, we know time is an illusion, but we do have a concept of time. We always had a concept of time for seasons and planting and crops and things of that nature. But our concept of time was far more divine in ancient time, and I'll be getting into that in the future when I get into the calendar deception. So after everything was founded, then the Most High created time. And this was the Most High's way of basically giving us a curfew, just like any responsible parent would. Basically, your mom and dad won't let you just stay up and not sleep. They know you need to sleep. A child will fight sleep till their body just drop down. So responsible parents have a curfew for their child. And you can look at this in the macro with the Most High. This is where we get this concept of the reaper from, that you can't escape. Everyone's on their own curfew or their own time clock that was set by the Most High for them, because you're all on assignments. Remember, you are drips or trips, and it's not the same experience for everyone. No two people perceive time the same. There's been plenty of times I've been around people and I be like, man, it seemed like this day taking forever to end. And the person next to me be like, man, seems like the day going by pretty quick to me. Someone that's having fun, time is going faster for them than the person that's on a tedious job. So you are occupying your own time and space in this cosmos, and you exist within time and space, and that same time and space exists within you. This is why we're infinite. The clock never stops. It constantly resets. Again, this word set is important. And when I talk about the Creator giving its children a curfew, or the reaper coming for all of us when it sees that we're ripe, it's because we're the fruit of the Most High. And when the reaper sees that you're ripe, then the Most High picks that fruit from the tree. So earlier we talked about words that begin in C-U-R. That's another one you can add to the collection. Curfew. The reaper will come for you when you reach that curfew, and your eyelids or your curtains will be closed. So when I talk about grip and how we anchor ourselves, or we grip this darkness when we rip through time and space using this portal, remember that the word Ankh is in the word anchor, because the Ankh comes from the anchor, and this ties into reincarnation. Also, when you look at the Ankh, the top of the Ankh represents the womb, or the point of singularity, and the bottom represents that bullhorn. And you can tell by the way it curves out like a bell. Now you say, Brother Sanchez, where's the masculine? Right beneath the womb, horizontal. That's Geb. Geb is always horizontal. The Horus energy. He's the masculine. So the masculine is the horizontal, and the feminine is the vertical. She's the North Pole energy. When you say vertical, when we tie that into our word relations, VER is the same as VIR. The vertical would be the divine feminine when you talk about VIR, vertical, virgin, Virgo, virtue, virtual, virtuous, virginity, viral. It's all going back to VI. And that's our lucky number 5 for Saturn, which is the great mother. Satan, which is the devil or the diva. So when we talk about this VI root, again, vertical, and Geb would be your Horus, your horizontal. So we anchor ourselves to this darkness like a ship anchors itself to the ground, like a child anchors itself with the umbilical cord, just like we leave the womb and anchor ourselves to the magnetic North Pole. Without that magnetic North Pole, or should I say electromagnetic North Pole, no life could exist in this place because nothing would be able to reset. There would be no portal for our prime essence to renew itself. So this darkness, when we talk about it as being waters, it's the waters of renewal, meaning even the water we drink have to cycle through this darkness to even renew itself. Again, this is the primordial element. So this darkness on a computer is represented by the recycle bin. And if you want to learn more about that, then you need to check out my previous videos. I talk about the symbolism of the recycle bin. Remember that the word bin is dealing with 10, or the binary code, the binary code, and the recycle bin shapes like Nut, who represents this darkness where we go to recycle. It's the most important thing on a computer because this is what creates room. This is what renews the computer, just like sleep renew you every night. If you couldn't get rid of anything on a computer, your computer would just fill up with all kind of crap and just so much stuff that it won't be long before your drive just crash, because you have to be able to delete things. You have to have a place to get rid of things. Imagine a computer without that recycle bin. It'll be a nightmare. You wouldn't be able to delete anything. Your desktop will be full of all kind of icons. It'll be so slow and just folders full. It'll be crazy. You couldn't even be able to use the thing. This is the importance of the recycle bin, and we take that for granted. So being able to get rid of trash is a form of creating more room. It's a form of compression. So all that exists is darkness. Our cosmos is the equivalent of you meditating and having an original thought. The one who's meditating this is also participating in this creation through all of the life that's there. So this creation that we enjoy is simply the thought of the Most High, and everything within it comes in and out of existence on its own time. And it'll never be a time where everything leaves or reset at the same time. There will always be an observer to bear witness and testament to the creation after the creation process. So when time was created, that was the covenant. We understand that the ceiling above us represents the covenant. And what that means is it's an infinite bond. There is no ending this place. There will always be an observer now, because energy can't cease to exist. And this cosmos is a pure thought of the Most High. When we say infinity, we're saying infinity. Remember that niti is dealing with night. Remember phi, we see the word phi there dealing with 5 or pi, because this darkness, this womb is what allows for infinity. So with all of that being said, when they say we're made in the image of the Creator, of course we are. We're made of all of the elements. I mean, we're able to recreate this exact cosmos in our dreams. So we're definitely made in the image of the Most High. But one thing I want you to pay attention to is the word image, because that can be changed with the word imagination and it'll still be true. I mean, everything around us is created in the imagination of the Most High. It's pondered from the pond of potential, or the primordial sea. So we are made in the image, and we are made in the imagination of the Most High. Now, these are just small things I want to go over. We're going to get even more deeper. So let's move on. So something else I forgot to plug in was when I say we anchor ourselves to this darkness, the word anchor again is ankh. I want to recommend that you guys check out my video on Angkor Wat, because the city of Angkor Wat is built like a ship's anchor. It's built like the ankh, and there's so much more to learn. So check that out. But I also brought that up to point out something called an angler fish. And an anglerfish, the male species, anchor itself to the female, which is like 10 times bigger than him. And if you study this, what goes on in nature, you can see our same relationship to Mother Nature, how we anchor ourselves to her, how we anchor ourselves to this womb of darkness to come in and out of existence. The anglerfish teaches us a lot, with the female being the matriarch, creating a symbiotic relationship with the male. He attaches himself to her, just like we attach ourselves to the feminine on all levels of existence when we're wielding ourselves in and out of creation. Because the sperm attaches itself to the egg, the baby attaches itself to the umbilical cord, the human attaches itself to the earth and plants itself in her soil and feeds from it and depend on her nipple or her ripple, which is her vibration. Remember, all the things that sustain your life is simply the vibration of the Most High. All of the food you eat, all of the water, is the vibration of the Most High. But when it's manipulated, it becomes the vibration of the manipulator. So you can take something that the Most High created, something, a good vibration, like a apple, for example, which gives you good health benefits. You can manipulate that vibration, change its frequency, and now use it as a tool of war. We understand how this works. Just look at what Monsanto is doing. So by us being made in the image of the Creator and there being a polarity, we can use this will for either negative or positive. So when they say humans have free will, meaning you can spin this wheel left or right, negative or positive. The universe is responding to all of our thoughts and vibrations. When you think about the creation of the cosmos and how the Creator wielded its conscious self into being via the four elements, being its extensions, and then manipulating those to eventually create everything we see around us, including ourselves, you got to think about that. The first life that existed on the earth, where did it come from? The first humans, what womb did they come from? We talked about how everything else was just created instantly, and it was just thought into existence instantly. I'm just giving you my beliefs. I believe that the first humans on earth were created the same way. A lot of people may say, well, Brother Sanchez, why would the first humans have to be thought into existence like everything else if now the Creator have elements? Well, the Creator didn't have hands. The Creator had earth, water, wind, and fire as its extensions. By the time the Creator created hands and feet, that's when humans were created. So if the Creator didn't have hands and feet to put stuff together and ball it up into balls and shape stuff into shapes, then how was the elements manipulated for things to be put into shapes such as mountains and clouds and humans and animals that have unique shapes? How was the Creator able to give everything we see its unique shape? You know, the shape of a tree, the shape of a rock, when each rock is unique, each tree is unique. How did the Creator create these different shapes that govern our reality and the different life forms that have their unique shapes, like humans and fish? Who was manipulating the elements, putting these elements into shapes and injecting the blood into the veins and putting the first humans together? Like we see in a lot of ancient cosmologies, people say humans were made on a potter's wheel and all of that. Well, how was humans made on a potter's wheel when humans created the potter's wheel? Now, I understand that it's all mythology, because when you break the word potter's wheel down, it's dealing with potter, is dealing with potential, that P-O-T root. And again, the wheel is L, the wheel of fortune. So how was these different shapes and creatures and sacred geometrical patterns created? Well, earlier in the first video, I told you all is vibration, all is frequency. After the Creator created these elements and created all of the ingredients for the cosmos, how was all of these ingredients put together in such a recipe to create the human, to create the eagle in the sky, to create the dolphins in the water. Well, I just told you that I believe all of this different life on earth was thought into existence. And remember, I told you thought is vibration. So there was no need for the creator to pick up anything. You pick up things because the creator created you as an extension of it. Again, I always say we are the hands and feet of the Most High, and the Most High exists through each and every last one of us. So in a sense, when you pick up something, yeah, the Most High is picking up something because the Most High is having experience through everything on this earth. Nothing is experiencing an experience alone. The Creator is experiencing it through each and every last one of its creations. So you don't have a bad day by yourself. The Creator is perfecting this place because it's able to experience this place through each and every last thing that's breathing, because all that exists here is an extension of the mind of the Most High. So to further understand what I mean by things being thought into existence and the Creator not needing hands to shape things the way it needed to be, it's because the Creator is creating worlds and creating new animals and creating all of that stuff as we speak by simply different tones and vibrations within itself. To see how this would look on a micro scale, if you're looking at the demonstrations in front of you, this show you how when you place some sand on top of a black poster and you play different frequencies and sound, certain frequencies of sound shape this sand into sacred geometrical patterns, and certain frequencies will start shaping this stuff into very complex patterns. So if you think about the shape of the cosmos, think about this little experiment on a macro level. How much stuff can a creator shape via these frequencies and vibration emitting from itself? To understand this deeper, we're going to talk some more about this experiment. So what we're going to do now, we're going to watch a couple of experiments, sound experiments, vibration experiments, cymatics. Remember that the root word of cymatics is psi, dealing with 5 again. And we're going to check this stuff out, and keep in mind, we want to think of this on a macrocosm level of how this earth could be created, how the elements can be manipulated and created via vibration. We're going to skip around a little bit.
Hello YouTube, I hope you find this video entertaining as well as instructive. Here I have a subwoofer, and I'm going to experiment with water today. So we've chosen a water resistant woofer, and we've sealed up our box to prevent it from leaking. It's amazing how much water a 12-inch cone can actually hold. Now this woofer uses a full cone poly cap, so it does resist moisture. We're going to start playing some sound with the water just on the cone of the woofer. We're going to start with some low frequency around 22-23 hertz and just observe how the water reacts. We'll start with low power and slowly increase until we can break the surface tension of the water. Again, just observe.
Okay, now we just saw what happened to the water when he had it at a slightly low frequency. It was kind of popping all out all over the place. Now he upping the frequency, he going to a higher frequency, 50. And remember, our lucky number is 5, so pay attention to what happened to the water now.
And again, slowly increasing.
If you look at that water, it looks very familiar. Okay, so what I did, guys, was zoom in on the surface of this water when he get to the lucky number 50, which is 5. When he upped the frequency and raised the vibration, look at how the water behaves and forms these beautiful waves that allow for potent oceans like the ones we see in our reality. So watch what happened when he higher the frequency once again. And then I'm going to flip over to pictures of the ocean, and I'm going to let y'all compare the two. And then we're going to move to the next experiment.
Reacts with a higher frequency around 50 hertz. And again, slowly increasing the intensity.
So guys, we see that the surface of this water is the exact same way we see our oceans. And we know that he turned it up to 50. He highered the frequency to 50. And once he got to that lucky number 5, we get these kind of life-giving waves. An animal would love to thrive in that type of water that's being charged by that vibration. I think it's just so amazing that the surface of the water mimics the surface of our oceans when he changed the frequency to 5. So what we're looking at really with this experiment is a microcosm form of what's causing our oceans to behave the way they're behaving. This will explain the vibration that's coming from the center of the earth that's vibrating the waters, our ocean currents, causing them to constantly have the shape that we see here on this speaker. So could this be a microcosm example of what's happening on a macrocosm?
As the sound waves pass through the water, we observe this odd rippling effect.
Did you hear what he just said? As the sound waves pass through the water, we observe this odd rippling effect. And this rippling effect can get to be complex patterns. We're talking all of the shapes we see in sacred geometry, we see on the face of this water in 1 second. Basically saw all of the patterns of the flower of life that makes up all the sacred geometrical shapes in 1 split second once he got into that frequency. You say, well, why does humans all shape the same? Why do we got 2 hands, 2 feet? Why are all humans shaped the same? Why are all snakes shaped the same? Why everything in this reality know what shape the whole? Because everything is a certain vibration, certain combination, a certain recipe formula. And humans are all vibrating. When we come into this existence from the darkness, we form into human bodies based upon our soul's vibration. And we will our body into existence based upon vibration, our very soul's vibration in the waters of your mother. But it's a more complex science when we go into incarnation, and I'm gonna be getting deeper into that. I'm just showing you here how the elements can be manipulated with simply vibration and sound. So if you look at a baby forming inside of the womb of a woman, you're looking at small little particles over time forming around a central core or growing outward from a central core. And that's exactly what you saw with this ripple effect he just created. Notice how when he hit the button, the ripple patterns start from the center outward. Did y'all pick up on it? I'll slow it down for you this time. The ripple effect always start from the center outward, just like the Pangea demonstration I showed you on part 1. Check it out. Slow motion, guys. Start from the center and then expand outwards. Did you catch it? Let's look at it one more time. Did you see that? From the center outwards, because that center point is the voice. That's the point of singularity. And then the waves expand. So what are we? We are the conversation of the Most High. But this conversation is taking place within the mind of the Most High. The subconscious of the Most High is conversing with the consciousness of the Most High, and we are the discussion, echoing outward from the point of singularity. And it's a physical conversation, meaning, yes, I can touch those flowers. Everything is constantly being, this very moment is being spoken into existence from the point of singularity. All is vibration, guys. That's awesome. And it spirals out just like a baby spirals out in the fetal waters of a woman. And that baby is coming from the subconscious realm into the physical conscious realm, which all is simply just spirit, soul. Nothing is physical. Remember, our root word of phi is pi. When you talk about water and vibration, water will behave in strange ways when we deal with vibration. Check this out, guys. Water responds to vibration. Look at this. I think this is interesting. This will make you look at your reality a little different. The only thing making that water do that is vibration, sound, waves. And what's happening if you look at the water is assuming the shape of the wave, just like we saw in this experiment. So we are made in the image of the Most High. We are made in the sound vibration of the Most High. The water mimics the wave that you can't see. So the surface of this water is the sacred geometrical pattern of the Most High. It's like an artist with a canvas, and you are looking at the art, and you don't know the art that's in that artist's mind until he painted upon the canvas. You see the invisible realm by examining the signs that the physical world show you. And remember, when you say sign, you're dealing with sin. You're dealing with this wave, these waves, the sign. This is the physical sign of an invisible vibration that you see on the surface of this water. What we call physicality or solidity is you and me. All is soul vibration. In other words, each and every last one of you is the physical representation of this invisible vibration called the Most High. And each and every last one of you is a different expression of that one source, an altered vibration of the all. And I think that's kind of deep, that the first words of altar is all. And an altar is also something that we use in religious rites and rituals, because this reality is about the all, or the Most High, altering the Elohim constantly, every second, creating the now. And all these different vibrations around us is a fingerprint. And when you think of a fingerprint and you look at the surface of this water, it looks just like a fingerprint. Your fingerprint is a wave. It's a sign. It's the most accurate way to identify you, and no two people have the same print. Your fingerprint is the same way this surface of this water is. All is vibration. All is a wave. You are a ripple, just like the print on the surface of this water. And when you go into the ground, it's the equivalent of the water being still. And when you come back into existence, your song is playing again. It's a cosmic breath. And you are a vibration. This is how we can go in and out of existence. This is how we can create this same cosmos in a dream, because we're just oming it up. We're conjuring it up via vibration, via breathing, via frequency. So you can see that depending on the frequency of the wave determines the pattern on the surface. You can't see the wave if the water wasn't there. So the water acts as clothes to reveal that which is hidden. And that's what each and one of us are. We're like the water that reveals the many expressions of this invisible source. The flowers is another wave of vibration, of frequency. And Remember, each frequency has a different surface pattern. So each organism is a different vibration of this one source. The flowers, the insects, the rocks, the water. And what you see is just a vibration, that frequency. And everything exists on its own frequency. For example, humans, your soul is a seed that knows when it comes in and out of existence to on this frequency. So this is the signal. And again, this ecosystem or ecosystem is the conversation of the Most High, the subconscious of the Most High and the consciousness having a discussion. So when they talk about in the beginning, when the Most High split the seas, that was when left and right brain was created. Because prior to that, the only thing that existed was central brain or pineal gland, darkness, source. All knowing. When the source split itself, it split itself amongst knowing and all knowing, negative and positive, left brain and right brain. And that's when the primordial sea was parted, as above, so below. You have left brain, right brain, but this concept first come from when the creator split itself. So look at it this way, right? Let's use the numbers 0, 1, 2 to demonstrate how this would work. 0 represents the point of singularity, the I. 1 represents the linear action that the 0 took. And 2 represents the result, meaning the split that came as a result of that linear action that the point of singularity took. Once we reach 2, the duality is created, meaning the left and right brain. But the Trinitarian aspect to all of this is that that point of singularity, the I, will always be in between the two, steering them. That's the neutral one that started it from the beginning. The center gave birth to left and right. In the beginning, all that existed was center, source, and the split led to the duat. Mainstream science called this the Big Bang, and the word big means two. It starts with B-I, bi, like the binary code. So the Big Bang is dealing with the binary code. It's dealing with the ancient concept of creation, but it's excluding the intelligence of the source that spoke it all into existence and giving you nothingness that exploded, when the explosion was the very vibration of the Most High. That point of singularity is the one doing the singing that's keeping this cosmos afloat, keeping it all stable and in vibration. The moment the source stops singing, that's it. The only thing that exists is source. As long as the source continues to sing, then what exists is the source and the song, which is us. So Big Bang can be translated to binary Ankh. The word bang, if you take the B off, is ang. So the word bang can be bang. Ang is explosion. It's chi energy. So ang as in Angkor Wat, as in the Ankh, because this trinity is an explosion, or should I say an implosion. This Big Bang is a binary Ankh, meaning if you take two Ankhs and stick them together back to back, you get this thing called a double conunga. So this is the symbolism we see all around the world of us being in this diamond cosmos. It's a duat or a binary explosion, meaning left and right brain that was created from singularity or source. That was a Big Bang or a binary explosion. There was a duat born from a point of singularity. When it gave birth to the consciousness from out of its subconscious, that was when the duat was created. All that existed prior to that was Zen. Zen is the ultimate state of perfection. That's the pineal gland in between the left and right brain. because there had to be a third person to examine the split. When the Most High split itself, it stood in between the knowing and the all-knowing as the third person that can be the neutral one to act as either or them both. What existed before the left and right was the one that split them both. Before there was a split, there was the one that done the splitting. So after the split, the one that done the splitting exists in between those two walls of water. That is the pineal gland, the seat of the soul that's steering left and right brain. Think about this on a macrocosm level of how the elements around you are being manipulated by the vibration of the Most High. The wind is constantly moving. The water is constantly moving. Things are happening around you. The elements around you are being manipulated by an intelligent source. But this source aren't using hands and feet. This source is manipulating the elements the way you see in front of you. Now I'm saving the best for last. The last video experiment we're going to look at is going to be awesome. We understand what's happening here. You basically get you a little black board, get you some kind of white powder, and you pour it on there like so. Beneath that is a frequency generator or a tone generator. And this guy is turning the knob up and down on that tone generator, and he's going through different tones from low to high. And with the low tones, we can see very basic shapes being formed, which are very important, the basic building blocks, your low frequencies. Everything start from the low frequency. Remember that trinity of small, medium, large? Same thing goes here. And as you make it to your higher tones, you see the shapes start getting very complex. So the fractal nature of our cosmos can be seen with this experiment. You can see how the first building blocks of the cosmos being earth, wind, water, and fire, those four corners starting off with your simple first original frequencies or your low frequencies. Your low frequencies are your base. And remember, the word base is your foundation. These are your foundational frequencies. These are your simple shapes that allow us to build the complex ones upon them. Remember that the word simple begins in SI, dealing with this 5 or psi etymology. And you can see that concept here. You have 5 points. So what you have is 4 corners like Maru. And because of these 4 corners which mirror themselves, you get your 5th yoni in the middle that they create. They create the same shape by positioning themselves in these 4 corners. And when you put any shapes in this pattern, you'll give birth to some type of sacred geometrical shape in the middle. And I'll be showing y'all this on the board in the future. So here's your all-seeing eye in the middle with the pupil here, based upon these shapes. This is 5 points. This is your 5 dice. And this is right here what allows us to create upon. So this is your foundation. Now, once you start building upon that, you see how the Most High can get more and more complex and start getting more and more into the fractions and fractal nature based upon the simple foundation. You can get more complex. This is amazing stuff. And these patterns are being formed naturally. I don't even think a human could form these patterns this perfectly. So what you're looking at now is, think about snake skin. Think about the patterns we see in nature that's formed so evenly like we see here. The abstract patterns in nature that's formed so evenly like your skin, human skin. How does nature know to make these beautiful patterns? Nature is intelligent. Nature is ohming the vibration of all of these sentient creatures on earth, including me and you. And the pattern that each one assumes is a song that the Most High is singing. Remember that the Most High is the point of singularity. And when you say singularity, the first four words is sing. That's the one that's singing this song of life. You can see the steering wheel. This is Mama Amma, the steering wheel, wheel of fortune. Snowflakes make these shapes. So nature is very intelligent, but the people that rule over us don't want us to know that this place is this magical and that the Most High Creator that's responsible for this place is intelligent. The Most High is a singer. They say it's not over till the fat lady sings. No, it's not over till the fat lady stops singing. That fat lady is the mother goddess. When she stops singing, all of these patterns that's making this cosmos right now cease to exist. So last but not least, I told y'all I was saving the best for last. Does this look familiar? Yes, this look like our flat earth ecosystem. This is a 4-minute video. What I want to know is what frequency we need to form rings, perfect rings, like our flat earth maps. I've been showing you vibration patterns of the ocean's surface, of snowflakes, and how different things in this reality can assume their patterns and shapes based upon vibration. But what about the cosmos itself? Let's take this and think about it on a macro level. And you can see that this first perfect circle start to form at the frequency that equals out to the number 7, meaning completion. Take this, beef it up to a macrocosm. Think about what the Bible was telling you. It tells you that the cosmos was completed on the 7th day, and it could be referring to the 7th ring. I think the ancients was doing this experiment. I think the people that wrote the Bible was doing this experiment, and this whole ripple effect experiment dealing with sound ain't nothing new. I think people in the ancient day was doing this, and they unraveled the secrets of our cosmos and put it in mythology like us humans always do. We personify things and we turn them into mythology. And we do that a lot with science. Science is directly connected to the Most High. When you deal with science, you start talking the names of deities and stuff like that, because you can't escape quote unquote theology or talking about the Most High when you discuss science. And that's because no matter how much some people deny it, when you start trying to figure this place out and unravel the secrets of it, you have to acknowledge the fact that there was a creator to this creation. But if you don't acknowledge a creator, it's going to be hard for you to understand the secrets of the creation, and you'll actually work against the creation. It'll actually become the opposite of what the creator would have. And that's where we at today. Some things we realize is that these patterns are formed from the center outward. And I think it's important to realize that they start taking their shape at certain frequencies, certain sacred numbers. If you vibrating on a certain level, you always hear these tones of the Most High. And these tones never stop. Some of you, if you astral project, when you wake up, you hear ringing in your ear. That ringing is always there. Even when it disappears from your ear, it's still there. The ringing that you hear in this video is the same ringing that's sustaining our cosmos and making it hold the shape of a circle of rings. If that ringing stop, all of this stuff will fall apart. That ringing is the vibration that's sustaining this song of life. We're in a big Tibetan bowl, and the one that's ringing the bowl, think about people who use Tibetan bowls. They hit the bowl, and then they use the stick to stir the rim of the bowl. And the sound is a spiraling sound, like a siren. And remember, the root word of siren is psi, dealing with this 5 again. When they're stirring the Tibetan bowl, the sound that we hear is a small sound spiraling up to a large sound, just like you see the circles on this plate. Different shapes based on different tones. And each firmament, each world within our flat earth ecosystem is a different tone, a different song. And you can look at this like a record player, a vinyl record. So our cosmos is a song, a huge vinyl record, and each world is a different song on that vinyl. Remember that the root word of vinyl is VI, dealing with 5. So you can see that the one that spins the vinyl is the pole in the middle. That's the pupil, the eyeball. That's what's creating the tone to all of these different worlds or songs upon this record player. That siren is always coming from the North Pole. The North Pole is a lighthouse, and it's what's holding reality together. It's the thread that's keeping the blanket woven together. And it's a lighthouse that's spinning, just like the wand that's spinning around a Tibetan bowl. And the reason you're spinning is to spread the tone evenly. And that's what the Most High is doing from the center of the earth, feeding each world the proper tone to sustain that particular world. And it's doing it by stirring our cosmological Tibetan bowl, creating that tone, that siren tone, that as it start, that's the inner worlds that's closer to Eden. And as it gets louder, that's the Most High sending a signal to the outer worlds, away from the center and the ones in between. So you can look at it this way as well. Think of a police car with its siren on passing by you. When the car is passing you, you will hear the regular police sirens. But as it goes down the road, you would hear that siren start to fade out, just the way I explained earlier, going from small to large. Now, when a police car gets far, far away from you, the siren don't sound the same as it did when it was right up on you. So I'm using that to say that when the siren of the Most High reaches the outer rings, they hear it the same way you heard it in your area, just like the police car. Just because you hear the siren different because the car has gotten so far away from you, don't mean that the people where the car is now at hear it that same way. The car is up on them, so they hear the siren for what it is. So this ecosystem is just that. It's the voice of the Most High coming from the center, echoing outwards. When it get to the outer rings, they hear it the same as we heard it. But as it's going away from us, we hear it echoing outwards like the Tibetan bowl. So like I was stating previously, the psi root and the phi root are very important, and they relate to the concepts that I've been giving you. And I guess that's probably why the sci-fi channel deals with a lot of the occult symbolism and a lot of the esoteric sciences, but they do it subliminally. Now, of course, this is called a siren, and a siren is a cylinder, and the word cylinder is related to the word cycle. In fact, when we say cylinder, we're really saying calendar. So the word cylinder is the word calendar, and our sky turns the way we see this siren turning. And each light would be, one would be the sun, one would be the moon. On most police cars, one is red and one blue, because it's showing you these polarities, this red-blue shift that Sanchez speaks of. These are the polarity, but one thing you got to keep in mind is that these two polarities are upon a pole, and that's what's spinning them. You can't forget that. And a battery is a cylinder, and a human body is identical to a battery. So our bodies are cylinder shaped as well. Remember, cylinder is cycle. When we say chandelier, we're saying candelier, or calendar, cylinder, chandelier. The natural calendar is based upon a stationary North Star, which all of the luminaries revolve around. That would be the one doing the spinning. That's why it's called Polaris, because it's the pole that is spinning around the polarity, meaning the sun and moon, just like the siren we see here. And we know that this makes a loud noise, and we all are familiar with this sound. In our life, they've made us associate this sound with bad things happening. But really, this is the bullhorn. So real quick, I made this collage to point something out to you. We say stuff today like holy cow, or man, that's bull crap. And we know that Michael Jordan played for a team called the Bulls and their symbol was Hathor. Hathor is another form of Baal or Baal, the bull that you see in the bottom left corner. Jordan was showing us a lot of symbolism. His logo, when you outline it, the one where his legs spread when he's the popular one on his shoes, it's a triangle. It's all sacred geometry. The number 23 equals out to 5. Which is the number of El. And his name is Michael. The name Michael is a name of El. And the 2 3s is the double trident or the kananga. The 2 3s is the number 8 for infinity when you stick them together. I teach all this all the time by telling you Trinity plus Trinity equals infinity. But that's another story. This collage in front of you is just a simple way of looking at all of the symbolism associated with the North Pole. I show you all the time that God is in the center of the earth with her arms raised. That's the touchdown or the end zone. There are no end zones when you venture outward. But when you journey inwards toward the pole is a portal. And that's actually the way you navigate an endless plane. So we travel across distances that you wouldn't be able to reach in a lifetime via the portal at the North Pole. And this is all my beliefs. And I think that you could get to the same places going outward. But like I said, on an endless plane, I think that the Most High created all of these centers or North Pole electromagnetic portals as kind of like beam me up, Scotty, where we can go to these. In whatever world we can think of, we can go and visit there. Just like in our dreams, we go to that darkness and go to different worlds. I think that a universal dark portal exists at the North Pole. But just to wrap this little collage up, what I want to point out to you is this deity in the bottom left corner is the golden calf that was cursed in the Bible. This is the calf that the Christians abandoned. This would be another form of the serpent goddess. When she had both of the serpents on each side, you have the bull here with both of the arms up, just like the mother goddess that you see in the Kemetic tree of life at the top. And that's the Dogon Mama Amma in the middle of that. And to the left of that is a light bulb. And we're going to talk about that in a minute. You see that the base of the bull shapes like a bell. So that bull is a bell. And it's linked to the god El because bull is Baal. They represent the same thing in cosmology. As you can see there, they both represent the ringing of the Most High, the vibration coming from Mount Meru. You can see the step pyramid at the base of Baal representing the ripples. You get a ripple effect at the base. And that's what this deity is showing you in the bottom left corner. You can compare that to El to the right of the bull, and you can see that both of the arms are raised, making L's, LL, okay? And at the base of these deities is ripple patterns or ring systems. It's all the same thing. To the right of El is Mount Meru by the Vedics, and you can see the ripple pattern with the pole coming up. And at the tip of that pole is a flame. That would be the all-seeing eye of El. You can compare this to a candle. This is why it's called a candle. Remember that a can is a cylinder. So a candle is a cylinder-shaped object that we burn, and that flame would be the eye of El. So when you light the candle, that's the equivalent of an idea that happens in the darkness of your mind. So when you light a candle, it's as above, so below, showing you this same ritual as when the Creator's candle was lit and the Creator's third eye was open. When that third eye was open, this reality came into existence because that third eye represented the splitting, meaning when the creator created this duat and placed itself in the middle of it to govern both sides of it. And as above, so below, we must do the same. You can see how this relates to a candle. You can see that the Buddha in the bottom right corner has his legs coiled up in what we call Indian style or Nagini style. Remember that the Naginis are genies, half human, half serpent, and the bottom half of them is coiled up to represent those ripples at the base. And of course, you can see a light coming from his crown chakra, symbolizing that all-seeing eye within all of us. Now, in the top left corner is a simple drawing of Mount Meru. And in the middle, they have Mount Meru shaped and looking just like a bullhorn. So y'all can see how all of this etymology and symbolism relate. Now, to the right of that Mount Meru picture is a small collage of a light bulb, the Dogon Mama Amma, and the Kemetic tree of life. Starting with the Kemetic tree of life, you see two polarities, and in the middle is the one that balances those two. Just like I've been showing y'all, it's very simple. Okay, that would be the serpent goddess, that would be the bull that you see in the bottom left. All of this became Satan, and they made us scared of it today. But it was beautiful to the ancestors, as you can see with the Kemetic people. That tree of life is a form of El, Mount Meru, the pineal gland. And again, you have the same concept to the left of that. That's the Dogon Mama Amma. That's the alphabet H. Remember that H is the silent alphabet, and Psi is dealing with the mother, the darkness, the womb. H is an alphabet that mirror itself on each side and create these four corners that we see in our cosmos. H is made with four L's, just like the letter I, because a capital H is a capital I. It's just a capital I when you stand it up vertically. When you say Amma, if you put an H in front of it, you're really saying hammer. When you think of a hammer, for example, what Thor carries, it's a capital T representing this tree of life as well. These two polarities with the pole in the middle. Remember that the judge bangs the hammer in court to keep the order, and its sound vibration, it's a thunderous clash, and it keeps order. As above, so below, they're telling you the same thing. It's sound that governs this reality. Just think of what happens. You have murderers, death row inmates, some of the most violent men on earth. When the court gets too loud, when the judge bangs the hammer, even they be quiet. Now these guys are killer police officers, but they'll listen to a simple hammer banging in court. It's because of the magic of the hammer and the sound. It's hypnotization. So sound really governs this reality on all levels. And when you look at the light bulb to the left of Amma, you can see, of course, your ripple effect at the base being your spiral. And you can see the tree of life, which is causing the light to come on. Because when the Most High raised her arms, that was her splitting the seas. When you put your arms down and stand up straight, your body forms the number one. When you hold your arms up, you just created a form of duality. So when the Most High raised the arms and split the sea, left and right brain was created. And that seat, that third person seat, is always occupied by that darkness within you and outside. Because the one that's observing this whole reality from the third person view, meaning from the God seat, is that darkness behind the stars where the Most High sit. And that's the same thing with you. The one that's really defining and perceiving and shaping your reality is that darkness within you and between your left and right brain. That's the third person. Before left and right brain was created, that singularity always was there. But like I said, when the goddess has her arms raised, that's another way of looking at when the sea was split in the Bible. This splitting refers to the creation of the duat. The Trinitarian aspect is when you start to see holistically. This is what true holiness is. When you look at your world as one thing, you can see the big picture. And in order to see that, you got to step out of yourself and go into your God view and hover above the cosmos like the sky goddess Nut. So again, that light bulb is the same thing. The darkness spoke the light into existence. The light is just a milder form of itself, a more diluted form of its potency. You can look at it as when a man and a woman contributes parts of themselves to make a baby. It's not that they're diluting themselves in a negative way. This is the bullhorn, a microcosm echo of what the Most High done in the beginning to make our ring earth systems. And each one was carved out with a siren in a circular pattern starting from the center, just like you see this siren going. So this is a police siren, and you see that you have one red light, one blue light, and one neutral light in the middle, the white light. That would be the North Pole in between the sun and the moon. And the sun and the moon is your red and blue shift. That's your red pill, blue pill. Put them together, you get purple. That's royalty. That's the pineal gland. That's the seat of the Most High in between both of these polarities. The center gave birth to diversity. The center gave birth to the duat. The center gave birth to left and right. So the potential of left and right always existed within infinite center. But once the conscious mind of the subconscious Most High began to split itself, he now did not see infinite center. We now got left brain, right brain, and a duat. And that's how we get left and right, up and down, this or that. But prior to any of this, it was just or. It wasn't this or that. It was just or, which is orgasm, organism, origins, originality. The source is the oracle. To see how this siren works, keep it locked in your mind. And now I'm going to flip over here. So here's our siren. You got left and right in between this white neutral light. And that left and right is sun and moon, negative and positive. And in the middle of negative and positive is neutral. And this can be represented by this goddess you see here. She have a snake in each hand. Her in the middle with her breasts out represents the life-giving point of neutrality. When you say neutral, the first word of it is new. You can't escape that root. All things become new through this place of centering. And that is represented by Nut. That is represented by Noon and all of the other deities I teach you about. It's not about lowering your vibration or getting a higher vibration as much as it is about finding your proper vibration and becoming centered. She shows you the neutral one is the great womb. And that is where all life come from, out of a womb. That's where all creations come from. The police sirens showing us the same thing. Everything is cosmology. Left and right, sun and moon, with the great mother in the middle. What I want to point out is when we deal with police sirens, is they shape like a cylinder and they spin. They shape like a cylinder and they spin. I told you earlier that the North Pole was a lighthouse. Yes, it is in all ways, spiritually, mentally, and physically. All compasses point to the great lighthouse of the cosmos so that we have a sense of direction. I just told you that left and right was born out of the center. So because of that, all compasses point to the center where all of these cardinal directions were birthed from. There is no magnetic South Pole. No compass have ever pointed to a South Pole. There's only one pole. North is the source. We get a sense of direction because the one that was divine, the divine one gave us direction and diversity. All compasses point us back to the center that gave birth to all of the directions, left and right and etc. If you look in front of you, you're looking at a lighthouse, a little miniature lighthouse. And the reason I put this one up is because it's shaped like a familiar chess piece. Let's deal with it real quick. This is the queen on the chessboard. I love chess, by the way. Some to my chess players out there, the queen is the most important piece on the board. We know that represents the womb. And the queen is the lighthouse. Once you take a man's queen from off the board, he dies a slow death. Any man that know chess know what I'm talking about. The queen dictates the movement of every other piece. And that's because the queen moves like water on the board. She has no limitations. She can go anywhere in any direction and take as many blocks as she need to get there. She's the only piece on the board that has no limitations. She's water. But if you look at the shape of her, she is the lighthouse. She is how we find our way. Remember that the womb is the portal in and out of reality, and the darkness is where we find ourselves at. We see more in the darkness than we do in the light. This is again the queen piece, the chess piece. What I like about this one, it shows that spiral that she represents. When you see the stripper on the pole, she's spiraling around that pole because the goddess you see here has the two spirals around her. She's the pole. So whenever they show us art with the women covered in the snakes, they're cursing this divine feminine knowledge. The woman and the serpent went together because they represent the Nagini or the sine wave. So what you're looking at right now is a sine wave, and you can see that on each side is a vertical arc, and beneath that is a bowl arc, for lack of better words. You can see that it's making of a womb or a woman with her legs open, a ram's head, or either a uterus. This is where we get all of that symbolism from. This is why most of the primordial goddesses carry an archbow. What you're looking at is Father, Son, Holy Ghost, and the polarity, the one in the middle would be your Horus. So yes, if you compare this trinity to the trinities throughout the world, you'll see it's all the sine wave. So this would be equivalent of past and future with the present in the middle. And the present is the current wave that we're now surfing. The Most High is creating this present moment. Where we exist at right now in the present would be represented by this bowl right here, because surrounding us would be the future and the past. We can't really touch neither of them, but we can affect them both from where we are in the center. Just like if I was to pull the bottom of this line here, it would make these two pull down. It would affect these two. This is your ram. This is the top of Dagon's hat. Looks like a fish with its mouth open. But this, again, is the same thing as this. And we can see the similarities. She represents the present. And this is the same thing of Adam and Eve, polarities on left and right with the tree of life in the middle. She is the tree of life. So what you want to keep in mind when we deal with all of this is a pole with a serpent around it. Doesn't that sound familiar? Doesn't that sound like Moses' staff? And a lot of more mythological stories of the serpent being slain with the great rod, even the slaying of Hydra. This even happens in the constellations every 7,000 years. And I go into this in detail, get in the description area, and check out the previous streams I've been doing on September 23. And those are on Flat Power TV. So remember what I said, the pole with the spiral wrapped around it. This became a lot of deities, as you can see here. This is one of the Nagas in India, representing that pole with the serpent wrapped around it. Here you can see Nuwa representing the same thing. Here is AMA's logo, and AMA is American Medical Association, but they're really stealing ancient science, because the real Ama is the Dogon mother goddess. Her name is Ama. And her symbol is the exact same symbol as the American Medical Association. So either they know what Brother Sanchez know and plan a huge joke, or either it's just a big coincidence that they came with the same name and the same symbol as the ancient mother who represent the sine wave. So again, the pole with the spiral around it. Let's look at some more. Here is something very familiar. Most of our men, if we go to the barber shop, we notice this pole with the spiral going. And again, looks like a lighthouse, doesn't it? And it spirals just like that police siren. And what shape is it? It's a cylinder. That's the shape of the yoni. That's the shape of the battery. The word cylinder is calendar. You look at this barber's pole, it's all cosmology. You got red shift, blue shift, but in the middle of them both is white. Think about that police siren light that I showed you earlier. There's a pattern here. We see sun and moon being separated by a point of neutrality, and this point of neutrality is what seems to be causing their circuit. And this can be represented right here with this barber pole with those two polarities. That's your serpent on the pole spiraling around the pole. And that barber's pole is your lighthouse. I mean, that is what let you know a mile away that there's a barber shop up ahead. And again, the first lighthouse was the magnetic, or should I say electromagnetic North Pole. So earlier I showed you how this sine wave is simply the mother goddess who's creating a wave of life that we're all riding. Remember that the word sine became sin. You see the X right there next to it, representing the X chromosome of the woman, the unknown, which is the subconscious, the primordial seed. So you see how this represented the serpent goddess. You see the pattern here? Let's compare it with some more. Here are the triple goddesses, which became the Celtic knot. In the future, I'll be doing a video that'll break down all corporate symbolism in a way like never before. So here you're looking at the triple goddesses, or the daughters of Allah. You look at the patterns here of the triple goddesses. You compare it here to the sine wave. It's all the same thing. Those triple goddesses became Brahma. Check out how Brahma is just a ripoff of Amma. And these matriarchal deities that represented this beautiful reality became patriarchal deities that turned the shit into fear and made you scared of it all. So remember what I told you, the word scared is really sacred. The stuff you scared of, if you get past your fear and look at some of this devilish stuff, satanic stuff, guess what? You'll see that it's really sacred stuff they don't want you going into. Look at this symbol. We're going to look at a few more before we go. Again, you can see it's the same here as your triple goddesses, even as your moon phase symbol here, which became your symbol of Pan. They demoted the woman in mythology, and by doing so, they built the new world on top of the old world matriarchy. And I'm going to be going into that in detail as we work our way up into her story to his story. Earlier, I showed you the serpent goddess in between two polarities, represented by two serpents. And now I'm showing you the triple moon goddess. You can see her in between those two polarities. And in the middle, she has her hands raised, symbolizing victory. Now, look at the negative space in between her hands raised. You'll see it's a crescent. The root word of crescent is Cree, dealing with creation, the creator. Crest became Christ. Crease or create is what we do. When we create, we make ripples. So when the Most High created our reality, it was about wrinkling the fabric of potential, or the sea of potential, into certain wrinkles of vibrations. And everything plays out this way in our reality. When you zoom in on it on a microscope, all you're looking at is a bunch of wrinkles. Vibration, wrinkles, creases. You got to keep that in mind. And you see in the middle that the mother goddess has a spiral on her stomach. What I want to point out about the triple moon goddesses that we see in the picture previously is that each point of your moon crest that's surrounding her, each moon crest represents 2 points. So it will be 1 point, 2 point, 3 point, and 4 point. You'll see when we flip back to the picture. So she has a spiral in the middle of her, representing the womb of all life, or Mount Meru. And she also have her 4 corners in the form of 2 different moon crests. These are your different angles, your different polarities that surrounds Meru. These are all of the directions being born from the center, or your 360, 4 corners, your swastika, and is represented by Omega, or the 2 moon crests. This is Q-Dog. And in the middle would be the Great Mother. The root word of ripple is ripe. When fruit get ripe, it start wrinkling. The same with you. We're becoming back one with the source, back one with those waters. Remember that the root word of senior is sand. The sine wave, which is a wrinkle. Look in the middle of this duat and you can see the one who created it all. The one that's in the middle of your left and right brain is your pineal gland, who's steering this vehicle called a human body. So when the cosmos was created in the beginning, and the 4 elements being the first day, or the first rise, the first ripple, that is the first ring that you see. And that's what the Dogon was telling us. What's sustaining all of the elements is at the North Pole. When we say the tree of life, it's because the seed of everything in our cosmos is there. That's the Akashic records. When you go to the North Pole, everything that exists in this cosmos exists there in abundance because everything was seeded from there. When we say resonate, we're saying resonate. We're saying basically resonar. We're using sonar to connect with the Most High. And we're resonar or resonating because it's already in us. You once knew it. We always knew this. So whenever you remember it, it's just you resonar. You're resonating it. Resonate. It resonate with you. And these patterns form when you reach certain vibration numbers, when you get up to certain vibrations. And this is why we have to vibrate on certain levels as well. One of this, I already showed you that everything they giving you for creation is baloney. They giving you the Big Bang. I showed you the picture of the Big Bang, that it's just a bullhorn. They laughing at you. The step pyramids, the Big Bang, all of these things they giving you shapes like a bullhorn. Even the baseball field. The step pyramids is a cowbell or a big Hershey's Kisses, a bell, bullhorns. We call them pyramids, but they're big bells. These pyramids gave off signals, vibrations. They still doing it today. They can't destroy a lot of these pyramids because the ancients were using these pyramids to extend the signal from Meru. The further we journeyed from the North Pole, the more we had to build pyramids and sort of spiritual antennas to extend the signal from the center. Remember, everything I'm giving you now, I'm able to give it to you because of the signal coming from a lot of these ancient structures around the world. I'm using a lot of the symbols that they decoded in these places. The elite can't get rid of a lot of these ancient places. The ancients was creating spiritual technology, y'all, that connects us with this source vibration. It's still there. They just taught us to ignore the ancients, that they was dumb as don't you pick up on the frequency. But the frequency's still there. It's frequenting. Any of you can pick up on it, and many of us are doing that at this time. We're putting the puzzle pieces back together. You know what that means? For so long, our puzzle pieces was distorted like this. When we do what we're doing now, we raise our vibration and we put the puzzle pieces back together. When you look at the Kananga and the Mayan cosmos, it's shaped like a puzzle piece. Because this is the missing link. Peace and much love.